Welcome. Today we're going to demystify a really key business process, the SAP service quotation. We're going to zero in on the 4G process in S4HANA Cloud and basically follow the entire life cycle of an offer, right from that first customer call all the way to the final handshake.
So think about it. Where does this all start? You've got a customer who needs a service, but before they commit, they need a clear professional offer. So how do you take that initial request and turn it into a formal, legally binding proposal that protects not just you, but them too? Well, that's exactly what this process is designed to do.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll nail down what a service quotation actually is. Then we'll walk through how you create one and get it out the door. We'll dive into the negotiation dance, the back and forth. After that, we'll look at the two big outcomes, acceptance or rejection. And we'll wrap things up with some really cool advanced features you can use.
So, first things first, what is a service quotation? You can think of it as the foundation. Before any work gets started, before any big contracts get signed, this single document is the absolute starting point for any formal service agreement.
Now, the most important words on this slide are legally binding offer. This is not just some casual back-of-the-napkin estimate. Nope, this is a formal commitment. Once you send this out, you're basically promising to honor those prices and terms. It's a huge trust builder and gives both you and your customer a really clear, confident place to start.
And the system gives you options. You can set up your quote based on time and materials, where you bill for the actual hours worked and parts used, or you can go with a single fixed price for the whole job. And every single quote has a validity period, which is super important. It protects you from things like rising costs and gives the customer a clear deadline to make up their mind.
Okay, so the customer's request is in. Now what? How do we actually turn that into a real document and get it into their hands? Let's walk through the creation and sending process.
So, the initial flow is really straightforward. It all kicks off with the customer's request. You create the quote in the system, and its status is immediately set to open. The moment you send it out, whether it's by email or print, the system automatically flips that status to Sent to Customer. The great thing about this is that at any given moment, your entire team can see exactly where that quote is in the process. No guesswork.
And here's a really critical control feature you can build in. Before that quote ever sees the light of day with the customer, you can set it up to require an internal approval. This is an absolute lifesaver for quality control, especially on big-ticket or really complex offers. It just ensures another set of eyes signs off on it, which can prevent some really costly mistakes down the line.
Of course, it's rarely a one-shot deal, right? Once the customer gets that quote, that's often when the real conversation starts. And this is what we call the negotiation phase. It's dynamic, it's a back and forth.
So what happens when a customer comes back and asks for a few changes? Easy. You can change the quote status to under review. This is like a signal to everyone internally that, hey, this one is being worked on. Once you've made your revisions and sent the updated version, the status automatically flips right back to Sent to Customer. What you get is this really clean, traceable loop, so there's never any confusion about which version is the latest one or whose court the ball is in.
All right, after all the talk, after all the revisions, we finally get to the moment of truth. The customer has to make a call, and that decision leads us down one of two very different paths.
This is where the road forks. If the customer says yes, the status changes to accepted. And this is the really cool part. It can automatically kick off a service order to get the work started. That's a huge time saver, and you can even handle partial acceptances. Now, if they say no, the status becomes rejected, and you can record exactly why the deal fell through, which brings the process to a nice clean end.
And let's talk about those rejection reasons, because they're way more important than they look. This isn't just about closing out a file in the system. By capturing why a quote was rejected, was the price too high? Was the scope not quite right? You're actually collecting priceless business intelligence. Over time, that data becomes an amazing tool for refining your pricing, your strategy, and your service offerings.
Okay, so beyond that basic life cycle, there's some pretty powerful advanced features that let you build quotes with a lot more detail and accuracy. Let's take a look at a few of these.
Most services are more than just labor, right? And your quote needs to reflect that. You can add different types of items directly into it. You can pull in service parts straight from your own stock inventory. You can include services that you actually get from an outside vendor. Or you can even create service bundles, which are these pre-packaged combos of services and parts all rolled into one easy line item for the customer.
This brings up a really practical question, though.
It's awesome that you can add a part from your warehouse to the quote, but how do you know if it's actually going to be there when you need it?
And the answer to that is the Simulative Available to Promise check, or ATP. Right there on the quotation screen, you can do a live check of your inventory. The key word here is simulative. It means it checks for availability without actually reserving the item, so it doesn't mess with any of your other processes. It just gives you this quick, totally risk-free way to confirm you can actually deliver on what you're promising.
And the feedback you get is super simple and instant. Green means you're good to go, the item is fully available. Yellow tells you it's partially available, so maybe you don't have enough. And red, well, red means it's unavailable. This simple, color-coded queue lets you set accurate expectations with your customer from the very beginning.
And finally, you can assign a specific service team to the quotation. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, the service team is what determines the plant or the location that the service is going to be delivered from. And that is absolutely critical for calculating the correct costs for both your parts and your labor, making sure your quote isn't just competitive, but that it's actually profitable when it turns into a service order.
And just like that, the quotations journey is complete. It's been created, it's been negotiated, and it's been accepted. But really, a successful quote isn't the end of the story. It's the starting line for the next big phase, the service order. And that's where the real work truly begins.
Okay,